Hi, how are you?
I'm
Nice to
good.
see you.
How are you? Good to talk to you again.
Yes,
I'm
great.
uh, I'm sorry about my surroundings. Am I live?
Yes, we're live.
Okay. Well, I apologize to everybody for my surroundings. I'm in the excuse me.
No
I'm
worries.
in the kitchen of a coffee house, so
No worries
hiding
whatsoever.
out.
No, thank you
But
for taking the time to speak.
oh, it's good. It's good to be on. It's good to be on. I was excited when I found out you were going to be the interviewee, so we kind of switched hats now.
Exactly. Because for those of you who don't know that are watching, I've been interviewed once by Commander X, and now I'm getting to return the favor and interview him. So, but before we get started, I just want to, for those who missed maybe like your last discussion with Susie Dawson on one of the last vigils, uh, you are a hacktivist, an activist, and a longtime friend of Julian Assange, and you have a really unique perspective on him because you both met while you were hackers, when Julian Assange was going by the name Mendax. So for those who haven't seen your previous interviews, could you just give us a little bit of the history there and how you all
Well, I think you
came to
sort of
meet?
missed one part. I'm also a severe pain in the ass to the government of the United States of America, and I'm currently in exile in Mexico seeking political asylum from having been a severe pain in the ass to the U.S. government. So I think I would add that qualification on as well,
Absolutely.
since I obviously share that quality with my good friend Julian, who
Absolutely.
likewise is suffering for being a pain in the ass to the U.S. government. The question is, should being a pain in the ass to the U.S. government warrant being locked in a broom closet for months on end with no internet connection and whatever? And I got to be honest, Elizabeth. I mean, at Vigil 5.0, I think I'm just beyond pissed at this point. I think I don't know. I'm perplexed by the continuing, lack of connectivity. I don't understand how the world really can sit by and allow one man to be treated so horrifically. I mean, that's the whole point of a world order. That's the whole point of a civilization, is that everybody is equal and one man's plight is all of our plight. And how can this even still be persisting after all this time? It's a form of torture. I mean, I challenge anyone out there who's like, people who are listening to this, you're probably already into the internet. You probably spend a major part of your life on the internet. I mean, I challenge you. What if I came into your home right now, locked you in your own broom closet, and then cut the Wi-Fi off? How would I'll feed you and everything. You'll be fine. But I mean, it just I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, I guess. I'm tired of it.
Absolutely. I can't imagine. And I don't, it's not just the isolation, which is a form of torture, so many people have pointed out, but it still bears repeating that just the isolation is torture in and of itself, but also the medical problems that Assange was suffering before he was cut off from the internet, and also that he's had to endure the entire time that he's been in arbitrary confinement. And those things together, I don't know how you know any one of us would survive that with the type of you know strength that Assange has had in the face of all of this adversity. But but and I know, like, it is horrible to have a Unity 4J event 6 months after Julian Assange was disconnected from the internet, after he was isolated from the world. But as some others have said previously in this stream, it is so important to keep his name in people's minds, keep this, going, so that people don't just allow him to slip through the cracks and kind of disappear because he can't speak for himself. But
Well,
I,
Elizabeth, I think the key. I
yeah,
think the key here is, people need to maybe reflect back on my last visit to Unity for Julian Vigil. Uh, It's well and good to sit back. I bet this stream right now has thousands of viewers, man. Thousands of people are listening to my voice right now and watching my ugly mug talk to you. And so, uh, you know, we're still here because I think in part all people are doing to a great extent, a lot of people, a vast majority of people, are enjoying this as a form of sort of entertainment. And I get that. I get how media works. I'm a radio host myself. I get that in order to get issues out, you do have to be entertaining. I'm glad that we're entertaining. I'm glad that people are tuning in. But what we need is to people to realize this is activist broadcast. This is not like a movie where you're designed to just be entertained and then go home. You're supposed to take notes. You're supposed to do stuff to help this situation, or at least that's why we're here. That's why all of us are spending endless hours on this movement, this organization. That for some of us, to be quite honest, it's starting to get to the point where the work in this to try to help Julian is killing some of us. I mean, it's really, the people trying to free him now are being worn down and burned out by this continuing battle. So you need to stop being entertained as much and be more engaged in what we're doing and what we're talking about. Because one of the things that I think is profoundly cool that you and Susie have focused on has been the amount of information that's in these broadcasts, the amount of detail that goes into them, the amount of organization. You can be immediately plugged into a space where you can become immediately productive, immediately useful in the fight for Julian. And as I said during the last broadcast, that begins, the first step is to go to that Discord server, which I still believe is a phenomenal thing and a phenomenal idea. Go over there, log in, sign up, do what you got to do. It's unityforj.com/Discord. It's pretty simple. So you work your way through that and you get in there, and then you bring 5 people. You go out and you find 5 friends or family. Everybody's got at least 5 people that do almost anything you ask, right? So now is your time to call in some chicks and get 5 people also into that Discord. And then step 3, you put your boots on and you get your sorry ass out into those streets and you make some noise somewhere, anyhow, anywhere, anywhen. There's now enough stuff going on that you'd really have to be in the outback of somewhere to not be able to get to something that has to do with Julian, some sort of physical event. I've been watching and they're pretty much, they're everywhere. I don't have the details. You guys have the details. That's what unityforj.com does. But they're out there. You can get yourself to a space. And if you can't, then this is where you really get to be a hero. This is where activism actually gets fucking interesting, because you can then go out and start your own shit. You can go say, well, nobody's doing anything. So now finally I get to be the boss of something. I get to go out and make something happen. So you make something in front of your city hall or your, I don't know, pick something, maybe some mainstream media outlet that hasn't been giving us any coverage, and go raise a bunch of fuss, and they'll have to at least cover you making that fuss outside their headquarters, right? You can figure something out. If you're creative, you can do it. That's what we do. That's what all of us do. That you tune in because you are entertained. You admire us so much. Well, that's the reason you admire us, is because that's the kind of shit that we do and that we did. And so that's what needs to happen. People need to become, the next step needs to be engagement. And I've been encouraged. Since the last interview that Susie did with me, I've seen more boots on the ground. I've seen way more actions, but they can be always bigger. They can always be more and bigger. And that's the direction this has to take, because until you have an equilibrium of the cyber and the information activism versus the boots on the ground, it's that balance, it's that equilibrium that freed Egypt. That's that equilibrium that freed Tunisia. That's the sort of thing that gets shit done, but it has to take that next step. And we are in a historic moment, and so many people that are listening right now admire Julian. They have this almost heroic admiration of Julian. And I think that's great. I encourage that. But here's the thing, though. This is your chance now to write your name into his story, to write your name into history. This is your chance to be a hero. And I know, I've listened to Susie talk a lot about how special Julian is. But one of the things that I'd like to come on and tell you is that Julian's just another activist, just like us. Okay. and he's in trouble. And this is no different than the sort of mutual support that we would give, the jail support that we would do at the Occupies during the peak of the Occupy movement. This is no different than the Free Anons and what they do for us Anons who are hung up with the law. Free Anons has had my admiration and support for almost a decade now, defending Anons. So this is again, we need to take the next steps. You need to bring it from cyberspace into physical space. People need to get their boots in the ground. But that's a simple 3-step formula to success that everybody can apply. Anybody new listening right now can apply that. They can already be flip open a tab on your browser, and you go to unityforj.com/Discord. And then you got to find some more people to bring into that server. And then you got to do something, some sort of thing, some action. Now, I understand everybody can't get boots in the ground. That's fine. That's cool. If you absolutely can't, you can't. But action can take place online too. That means you got to work all the more harder online. You've got to find a space where you're not just retweeting crap and doing the light work. You got to dig in now, and maybe you're a videographer, so now you actually got to take responsibility and produce something really cool or whatever.
I just want to break in and just add that actually I believe it's really an amazingly important point, but I also think that Susie Dawson is organizing it, and for the last couple of vigils now, there's been, I believe it's called Unity 4J Day, where they actually are following the vigil with a day of boots on the ground actions. So if you aren't, and that goes exactly to your point of, after the vigil ends, that's where the action by viewers has to begin. And that's definitely.
I'm not discouraged. Please don't. Anybody who's listening and listened to my last interview, don't think that I'm discouraged. I've seen progress, but what I'm saying is that needs to continue. That progress needs to continue. The thing that I want to get across to people today is that while we do need to work harder because he's still in there and he still doesn't have any internet,
absolutely,
we saved him, and I'm convinced of that. I want to remind people that 5 vigils back, we were sitting here. Glenn Greenwald, I had just interviewed Elizabeth on my radio show. Glenn Greenwald that day had released an article that basically said it was a done deal. They were going to drag Julian out, and it was like hours. We were organizing, friggin' people to go down there and actually just watch and make sure they didn't drag him out and nobody noticed. I mean, we were organizing people to go live stream in front of the embassy, thinking that any second he was going to get dragged out of there in chains. That's no longer the case. As of this week, his citizenship has been reaffirmed by the Ecuadorian government. The foreign minister just a few days ago reaffirmed that his asylum remains in place. This, to my mind, is not only a gigantic victory, but it's our victory. We earned this. This is us. We did this. Unity for J. Okay.
I completely agree.
That's my assessment. I mean, excuse me. I haven't been well lately, folks.
No, I completely I agree. Yeah, I think that there was a number of weeks earlier in the summer where we all were so concerned because all of these legacy press outlets were telling us that Julian Assange was going to be kicked out of the embassy any moment. And so there was an emergency live stream event, and we all, raised our voices as loud as we possibly could. And I agree with you. I think that made a difference.
I think it did. I think it made the difference. Sure. And so we have a lot to be proud of, but we still have a man locked in a broom closet with no fucking internet. So this is, it's still just such a dire situation that the pressure has to remain on. He has to be released. Enough is enough. I mean, there is no law, there is no justification on earth to justify doing this to a human being. There is no accusation even that's even been made against Julian, true or false, that can come close to legitimizing this sort of treatment of a human being. It's clearly political, and it's clearly time for the world to unite around that. And the world isn't going to do that until we unite around Julian. This is where it begins. It begins with unity for Julian. We are the core. We are the people who already know. We're already preached to. We already got it. Okay, but then we got to get our shit together and bring this message to the world the same way that, as Susie has brought up so many times, the way they brought the Mandela movement to the world, the way the anti-apartheid movement brought that to the attention of the world and got that job done. And so it's really a lot rests on us. A lot rests on us. It's all fun and games. It's great to talk about the wonderful numbers in the Discord server and all of these great things that are being done. But the responsibility is huge and it's heavy. And if you're not feeling it, you're not doing it right. And you should be. So.
And I think that also brings up a point that about, the purpose and the role of Unity 4J in general, which leads me to just, say, as I've said before, in the previous vigils that I've participated in, it doesn't have to, if you are somebody who wants to work alone, or for whatever reason you don't like working with Unity 4J, if you don't want to join the Discord, maybe you don't know how it works, it's perfectly valid to go be part of other efforts, do your own individual efforts. But the point is that we should all be supporting Assange no matter what we're doing, no matter who we're doing it with, no matter, where we're coming from politically or any other aspect of the differences that we might have. All of us should be trying our best to work for Julian Assange and not to have sort of like petty squabbles about, almost like turf battles on who can support Julian. So I think that, you make such an important point about the fact that we need to all be doing something and engaging and not just sitting back and watching or talking on a live stream. I really agree with that.
I don't want to make light of, we all are going to pay 10 hours worth of attention to how bad Julian's situation is. But again, as I opened up the segment, I'm not at all ashamed to let you know that the people who really love and deeply care about Julian, his friends, his family, the key supporters who've helped raise this and other movements in his defense, we are fucking exhausted. We are emotionally drained beyond words. I want you to try to imagine that this were your friend or your family member, not just some abstract blonde dude that you saw on television. This is a human being. And read up on the stats, run the stats by you. And I don't have them, and I'm too exhausted to repeat them, but the months and months of detention with no internet, the years and years of detention within the embassy compound itself, which is not a compound, by the way. They don't own that building. It's a fucking apartment on one floor of that building. That's it. And so we are beat. And I mean, in the sense that we're not beat like victory-wise, we're winning, but we're beat physically, we're beat emotionally. And more than ever, we need folks to step up and to do whatever they can, because if we don't get more than we have been getting support at the top, you're going to start to get what we call in the activism world, you're going to start to get leader burnout. People that are taking leadership roles in this movement are beginning to wear down. And that's going to become a problem ongoing. And that's where the support is necessary. The support needs to be towards the movement, but also towards the people who appropriately are carrying the loads. And we can't do this alone. We can't get Julian out of there with online vigils. I love this vigil. I'll keep coming back again and again, but it ain't going to get Julian out of the embassy. You are the only one who can get Julian out of the embassy. You, the person who just heard my words, saw my face, you're the one. You're the only one. And we need you. We need each and every one of you to step up, because there's only so long we can fight this fight, and we're willing to die for it. Each and every one of us that I know on the front lines of this incredible move to get Julian out of that embassy, we're willing to lay down our life for it. But is that really necessary? And it's not. If you step up, if you help, then we can get this done, and we can get it done without killing a bunch of activists and wearing them out and destroying them. This destroys people's lives. This kind of effort, this kind of monumental and titanic effort, destroys people's lives, and I'm seeing it happen. I'm seeing people's lives wear down from this. So the best way to help with that is to pitch in and do your thing. Get in there, get involved, get to work, make something positive happen. Be positive to the people around you. We have to be kind to each other, because if we're not going to be kind to each other, then we're going to suffer individually at the hands of the empire. So we have to be gentle with each other. We have to be kind with each other, and we got to work. We got to work harder. We just got to all work harder.
Absolutely.
Until it's done.
Completely agree. And I think that is such a good point to bring up. I'm not sure that I've heard that before, discussed before on any of the vigils, the fact that, the people who are really running them and running other efforts with Unity 4J,
we're tired,
everyone has a limited amount of time and energy.
We're tired. We're worn out, man. And that's not to complain. We're that's what we do. That's what I do. I don't care. But the thing what I'm trying to say is that can, if you can help with that, it's by simply getting in there, paying attention to what's going on, and doing whatever you can to make the situation more powerful and get our message out and help your brothers and sisters around you realize that every movement isn't made up of numbers. It isn't made up of viewership on Periscope or YouTube. It's made up of human beings. If we don't take care of each other and ourselves, then we're useless to join. It would be pointless to even try to carry on. So, just be kind to each other, I think, is my message this week, this video, and be supportive of each other and realize that those who are working very, very hard are doing so at a human cost. We're not robots. So
exactly. And I think the point you make about it's not about numbers, it's not about viewership, it's about what gets done. I can't agree with you more on that. Like, it really, really is about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and getting more people involved. Really, a great point. I'm glad that you brought that up. And I also think it again, that's why, as you say, kindness to each other, that's so important, because I think, sometimes the fact that there can be friction is coming from that burnout. It's coming from that sense of worry that's been going on for 6 months now in so many people's minds and hearts for Julian, that it becomes more important than ever to be kind of forgiving and, understand where people are coming from and trying to make an effort to not compound the burnout that you mentioned, and not compound the kind of weight that people are having to carry by attacking them. So completely.
Well, and in dealing with each other in this movement, it's important to remember that we're going to win. Julian's going to get out of there, and we're going to stop doing this someday. We're not going to be doing this someday, but all of us are still going to exist. We're all still going to be activists in the overall information activism movement, if that's where you're coming from, or whatever part of life you came to Unity 4J from, you're going back to that life, and we're all going to have to deal with each other. A lot of us knew each other before we even started this whole thing, and we're going to know each other afterwards. We're going to need to deal with each other afterwards. Don't burn bridges you don't need to burn. I mean,
exactly.
Be calm and think about what really is important. And I bet you a couple of minutes of calm thinking, and you'll realize that a lot of stuff maybe can be laid aside, and we can support each other even if we don't all. I can support somebody I don't even like if what they're doing is important and vital to the world and is for the betterment of humanity. So I think we need to be better to each other. We need to be kinder to each other. We need to support each other more, because it turns out that Susie's more right than me. It is going to be a bit of a long haul. We've got a fight in store for us. I hope it doesn't take 8 years, but it's going to take more than 8 weeks. So somewhere in between. And we've got to knuckle down. We've got to buckle in. We've got to do especially what you and Susie have done. It takes so much time to think about the long term and to try to build something online that can really last. That's phenomenal. And that's, as humans, we need to build our relationships the same way we've built the Unity 4J infrastructure. We need to build ourselves together so that we can last this out. And I think just part of it starts with compassion and kindness towards each other. I mean, we all have at least one thing in common, so we can't be all bad.
Totally agree. I can't agree with you more on that. And I think that's really fantastic that you bring it up. I think it's something that we have mentioned sort of in regards to maybe just Julian himself, and the fact that he is so misperceived by the public due to the media smears against him, and the kind of the brutality that he faces because of that from the public, and the lack of compassion for him as a human being. But I think to apply that as well to the people who are trying to do their best to help him is also, as you say, extremely important and necessary to make sure that this movement can continue and be productive.
Well, like I said, it's built on humans, not on websites. So, I mean, the website can break down, we can fix that. But if the human element that we have going on in Unity for J breaks down, we could lose something very vital in the fight to free Julian. And I don't think that there's any danger of that. To be honest with you, I'm quite confident in the Unity for J movement. I'm quite confident in yours and Susie's leadership of it so far. I have no issues, and I try the best I can to spend as little time as I can thinking about shit like that, to be honest with you. I really do. But I think, though, that other folks, and like I said, the main thing you can do is to just pay attention to what's going on, pay attention to the people involved so that we can look out for each other and get to know the folks that are involved. You find out that, each and every one of us, especially near, the top of the prominence chart or whatever, we all have our haters. We all have our own little sect even of haters and whatnot. But get to know us. Go into that Discord server, work with us, see what it is we're doing, see what it is we pay attention to. And you'll see, I think you'll come to the judgment that we're worth working with. Susie's worth working with. I'm worth working with. You're worth working with. And I think that's the key. And then the rest of it you can then just set aside. I think that's what that comes down in an exercise of, okay, so this person's good and I'm going to work with them for this thing, and then put the rest aside. And it's going to be an ongoing exercise. I don't want anybody to think that there's a cure for this or that this is new in activism or movements in general. This is the way this goes. It's second hat for if you've been through 3 or 4 different mass movements. This becomes really just kind of the template for how these things goes. But that means somebody has to speak up and put oil on the squeaky wheels when they happen. And right now, I just think I'm dripping a little oil on a particular squeaky wheel this week. But yeah,
absolutely, I agree. And we have about 3 minutes left in this half-hour segment. But I was wondering, is there anything else that you want to discuss before I hand over my spot to the next panelist, which I believe will be Ross Cameron?
Yeah, actually, I'm interviewing him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like you'll be taking my spot.
I'm a host. Oh, so I become a host.
You will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the titles, but all right. Yeah. I'm excited to do Ross. I found out Ross. I was going to do this at like 2 hours ago, and I went and researched him on Wikipedia. To be honest with you, I got some great questions for him. So I think it's going to be a good interview. I think we'll have a good time together. Final words. I don't know. Keep fighting. We can't give up. So, I mean, there's no matter what problem we face, no matter what issues we argue about, no matter what's going on, we can't give up. So, overcome it, work through it, work through everything, think carefully about what the key thing I think I want to leave people with is you're a part of history now. Be cognizant of that. Be cognizant of how you want history to record your actions, because everything we do in that Discord server, it's all a part of a permanent footprint on the internet that's going to be what we did to save Julian. And so how do you want history to remember you? As some squeaky wheel that needed oil on it, or as somebody who pitched in and did the best they could for a good man who really, really deserves it. And so be cognizant of your place in history, I guess, and act accordingly.
The final comment I want to make on that before I leave you all is just to say that I think that's such a great message of self-empowerment and the way you're encouraging people to take ownership of their effect on history and realize that they have the power to make that difference themselves and to actually go out and make that happen. So I just wanted to add that. And I guess now I will hand it over to Ross Cameron and yourself. And thank you, everyone. Right. And I'll see you next time.